wrong that a 14-year-old got labeled a racist instead of being reprimanded or told why it was wrong. So I'm very against label. Another thing that, from my history, I've always been very conservative on.
So a long history of always being conservative on, but yet she identified as a liberal when she was younger. So which is it, Candace? Were you always a conservative under the false label of liberal? Or you're a liberal who switched over to conservative and you're trying to showcase how conservative you really are?
Following this event, and I barely made it to college because of this. It was like something that was really taxing that happened in my senior year. And following this event, I developed severe anorexia.
And now she's bringing in anorexia. So because of this hate crime that she supposedly received, and the FBI was involved because of the governor's son calling her, she was taken out of school for 6 weeks, and now she's developing anorexia. So I can understand that this kind of thing to a 17-year-old woman, young woman, might be really, really overwhelming. But now she's using anorexia as a form of self-harm, which a lot of people in the audience members, when we hear people doing self-harm to themselves, we instantly have sympathy to them. I don't promote anorexia. I don't promote obesity myself. I promote healthy living. So when I see or hear people of these two extremities, being super, super skinny or super, super fat, I do show sympathy to them. It's going to be a natural reaction. So she's now tying in anorexia to her stress level as a young woman, which affected her going to college. So not only is she a Black woman that intersectional feminists will just leap on because she's a visible minority and a woman, who's supposedly a minority, but women are not minorities in the West. They're not minorities. So she's using the Black female shtick. She's used the racism shtick. And now she's using anorexia. She's using a lot of victim narratives here.
It's something that they need to be sorry about. People that have anorexia are just looking for a way to control. It's a control mechanism. So I felt like my life was completely out of control and people were basically able to freely say whatever they wanted about me, and it was permanently on the internet. Like this situation that happened, and the NAACP fighting with politicians, and nobody gave a shit about the kids that were involved in this. No.
But you did? I mean, if you gave so much of a shit about these kids, about being mislabeled as racist, when all they needed was a little bit of a slap on the hand, why did this explode? Why are you now being affected by it? Like, you say you thought about the children, but in this sense, it sounds like you're thinking mostly about what happened to you.
Cared about the kids that were involved in this. I developed anorexia. I think the ringleader, they kept calling him, that had these kids call me, went on to have DUIs. He was a closeted gay at the time. Everybody's life.
Oh, okay. So typical of a storyline about males. I guarantee you, if we look into this, the son of the governor was probably white. So now she's slandering white males as closeted gays. And that's a whole different that's a whole different bowl of soup right there. But she's using this as a means of a young white male who's uncomfortable with their sexuality, who got his buddies together to call her and leave racist voicemails and yada, yada, yada. So she's actually adding more to this political conspiracy. I really want somebody to find this, to look up this FBI case and to see if she's actually listed as a victim of a hate crime. So I don't know how old she is right now. She's in her mid-20s, I think. So somebody needs to find out what year she was 17 years old and go from there.
Ruined by this. And it was something that I never wanted, and it ate me alive. It just was this is it. The internet is forever, and these things happen. You get to write about them, and you get to politicize something that's not true. Right? Trumped, when I got over my anorexia, I think I was 22 at the time. It was in 2012.
Oh, okay. So she just listed a year, and she just listed her age. So in 2012, she was 22 years old. So 5 years ago, that would have been 2007. So 2007, she's 17 years old. So we have a date and we have an approximate time.
Honestly, I thought through it. It was one of those things that I had to sit down and really question, where did this anorexia come from? What am I trying to control? And what have I learned from this? I thought about children. I thought to myself,
okay, so now at this point, she's showcasing that she's got over her anorexia. She's overcome those obstacles, guys. She's a true, strong, and independent Black woman. She overcame her anorexia and her stress. She's looking on the bright side of life, okay? And now she's also used, I was thinking of the children. Again, right at this point, she's uplifting herself. She's uplifting herself for this backstory to make it appear like she was a victim, she was victimized, and that she struggled with anorexia, and then she overcame it. So she's a stronger woman because of it. Feminists and SJWs love that shit.
Like, technology is something that people don't talk about. I gave a TED Talk on this, which many people that have staunchly defended me have seen my TED Talks. They knew where my heart was at when I did this. I felt like kids, we are in like...
It really wasn't that great of a TED Talk, but you guys can watch it if you guys want. I might leave a link to it.
Different generation. You're also young as well, so you have, we have Instagram, Facebook. They never had this. Like you when you were in school, I'm not trying to like make it seem like you're a dinosaur,
Why, Candace?
right?
Why?
You didn't have...
Ruben is clearly not a dinosaur. He's a well-kept man who's doing well with his life, so he's not a dinosaur.
You didn't have, and there are 10-year-olds that are killing themselves over Snapchat, and it's all like just because of the internet. My dad, when I was growing up, my dad had a beeper, and then all of a sudden we have Facebook and Instagram, all of these things, and I thought to myself, what a way if I can come back and create something that helps kids navigate technology, right, without ruining their lives. Like, do these kids need to be...
Okay, so she's imposing herself into the lives of children, wanting to showcase to them a good way of navigating through social media. So a question I have for Candace, Red Pill Black, is who asked you to be this person? Who asked you to do this? Okay? Parents have the responsibility to teach their children about life. And yes, younger people nowadays, the millennials, they grow up around technology. To give you some clarification, I'm 32 years old. I didn't get my first computer until my first year of college. I was never encompassed around technology. I never had social media. Even when Facebook first came about, I rejected Facebook for about 6 or 7 months before I actually added it on. Why? Because everybody was doing it, and I was totally a rebel at that age and be like, I'm going to do things my way and not be a sheep. But I had friends from high school that I wanted to contact, and so I added a Facebook profile in order to get into contact with these friends. And then it just went off from there. So she's right. A lot of younger people back in my day, we didn't have this technology. We didn't have social media as we do today, which meant that a lot of us didn't have the form of communication and exposure to this communication when we were younger. So people in her generation, and obviously those that are younger now, they grew up with this technology. So to get back to the point, it's the parents' job to teach their children how to use social media. It's the parents' job to put in parental controls. It's the parents' job to make sure that their own children are safe. Nobody asked you, Candace, to do this. So yeah, you want to create a website and you have good intentions. You understand what it's like to be bullied and blah, blah, blah. Everybody's been bullied. Everybody has felt that way. Nobody asked you, Candace. So because of this makes me wonder what real reason to create a website to gather people's mean information and store it to potentially what most of your critics are afraid of, to potentially dox others. So she's got to get into that more a little bit further in.
For saying mean things? No, I disagree with that. Like, I disagree, even though they characterized me as the victim and characterized these children as the aggressors, I felt that it was wrong.
Except they didn't just characterize you as the victim. You saw yourself as the victim. You just stated so in your backstory. You just claimed how you suffered from stress. You had to be taken out of school, that you suffered anorexia, and it was troubling for you to get into college because of what occurred. You were also victimizing yourself. You're coming off as this empowering woman, but you're still falling victim to your own narrative.
So you created Social Autopsy
Right.
with the idea that it was sort of going to almost self-police some of the kids' ability to
Right.
ruin themselves.
Right.
Yeah, again, not your place.
Exactly. So
Okay.
what we thought was, what if there was a way when kids do these like stupid things, and we initially always thought about kids. We had to change it because people said first try it on adults, try to something a little looser because people are sensitive when it comes to children.
Yeah, no kidding. Because potentially doxing children and going after them is a big threat. Can you imagine, Candace, as a parent of a 10-year-old girl or boy, and having people come in and throwing rocks at the window, leaving nasty messages on the front lawn about your 10-year-old child? Really? Do you wonder why people get so up in arms when it comes to things involving children? Oh, but we'll start things off with adults. Because adults have agency, adults have greater consequences to the things that they say and do versus what a child does. There is a difference between doxing children and there's a difference between doxing adults.
And we said, what if there was a way that we could archive what they say with like a no-no type of a punishment? Like maybe it's held for 3 months, and everybody, like all of these schools, we were meeting with principals of schools, of high schools, before we even decided what we wanted to do, to say, how can we help? What would be helpful? What do kids care about? Well, they care about being on the football team, right? What if you said, you're on Social Autopsy, all these schools have this program, you said this to Carolina, whatever it is, now you don't get to try out for the football team. Something that's like petty, you know, but
Yeah.
better than getting arrested, right? It's better than...
Okay, so it's very interesting how first she said that everything on the internet is forever, meaning what I'm making this video for, it's got to be on the internet. And once I place it on the internet, it's forever. People's stupid commentaries are forever. People's racist commentaries or racist videos, that's forever. So here she is creating a website to get information on people that is already going to be on the internet forever. It sounds like she's trying to be her own police force. See, when it comes to cyber violence and cyberbullying, they have the authority to go in and check people's emails, check texts, look at their social media, what groups they're a part of. All that is made available on the public forums, on the social media, such as Facebook, such as Twitter and Instagram. So even though it might take a lot of time for the cops to go through all of that, they have access to it. And we give police the authority to do such things when something like a hate crime comes up. So why does Candace think that she has this authority to do the exact same thing? In fact, why is Social Autopsy a necessary website when everything is already online?
You were a part of someone's suicide because you said something mean, and because I don't think kids have the mentality that their brains are underdeveloped. Like our brains were underdeveloped to really understand the implications of what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yep, and she is right here. I actually believe that children don't have the same brain capacity to understand what reality is, why we do things, or what we see as wrong or right. Kids are very straightforward. Kids will always be openly honest about it, and that's one of the redeemable qualities of children, is that they don't have those filters that adults do. So she's right here in the fact that children's they don't think about the capacities or the consequences of what is around them, whereas adults have that capacity and also should know better, because Candace is like, what, 23, 24 right now? She's clearly an adult, and she should understand the implications of what this website is, and she should understand the consequences of this website.
Social Autopsy was born. Okay. The web developer that I was speaking to, and I was actually at the time, remember I used to work in finance, I was talking to some potential investors, and they said, as I mentioned, start with adults.
She just admitted that she works in finances, which means she knows numbers. She can crunch numbers. She can think along the lines of money and financing. So that says a lot to me.
start with adults, do something like you know, build something that we can kind of see what you're thinking of how it would work in terms of archiving things, and we'll go from there.
All right, so to be clear, and then I'm going to let you jump in, when you created this, it was basically to defend some of these kids from wrecking their lives, and schools would be able to look and maybe go, oh, you actually did have a decent track record here. You said this stupid thing, but we're not going to let that do anything. And unless I'm understanding, I want, you know, we have to do a little something here with definitions of words, because that, what you're describing there doesn't sound to me like a doxing. A doxing website would be I'm using this site to release information about people.
Yes. Okay. So this is all of Candace's stance, is that Social Autopsy is not a doxing website. Okay. What it is an archive of information about things people have said online. So if I were to say something along the lines of Ruben is a fag. Okay. Ruben is a fag. And if I said that in a group somewhere on Facebook, somebody who's a part of that group can take what I've said, put my profile name and what I've said, or a picture, and put it into Social Autopsy, and then that stores what I said. The one thing taking out of that context, nothing else that I say or do online, just this one instance, and now that's archived it. And now it's just got to sit there. Okay. So if this information is already online forever, which the police can go in and find themselves, why do we have the need for Social Autopsy? That's my question.
But you're saying basically this was going to be an archive home for schools to look at this information and sift through it.
So my question is, did she lay that out in the description of the website? Okay. You know how you go to a website and it says the tab About Us? So my question is that does she clearly state that it is meant for schools and meant for children? Okay. Is this an anti-bullying website? Is this a thing to to protect children, as she stated? I suggest you go watch Tree of Logic for her breakdown of the tabs and the breakdown of the website, because she deals with that a lot more better than I could. So check out that video and make that assessment yourself. But what Candace is not making clear is that she's not making clear her intent. And if she did not state that in the beginning of this website, then there's something else that we're not seeing. That's what I'm suggesting here.
So I think calling it an archive, I mean, it literally is an archive, but it's also a doxing website. Anytime you publish people's personal information, it is doxing.
It's not personal information.
Why not?
It is personal information. It's allowing the everyday user to go onto Facebook, let's say, and they see somebody make a nasty comment, okay, pull that, put their picture and the thing they said there, and then that website, Social Autopsy, pulls up all the information based on what that was put in. So if somebody puts my picture and says Ruben is a fag, they are able to find my Facebook profile, Instagram, all my other social medias, any videos that showcases my face. And then from there, they will go through, and let's say I've mentioned before that I live in Edmonton, Alberta. Now you can finalize, like pinpoint where I'm actually living. Now, I haven't listed my work. I haven't listed my address, obviously for privacy reasons. But given somebody that kind of power based off a website could potentially dox somebody. This is where everybody's concern is, Candace, is that you have created a source for people, individuals, to potentially dox people. We're not saying that you personally are doxing everyone else around you. We're not saying that. The concern is whether or not people's lives are going to be negatively affected by your website. And I feel like you're using it as a means to get out of getting pointed the finger to, like you're going to be put to blame. You can't do that because it's down to the person who doxes another. Let's say a 17-year-old man took something that a 10-year-old girl said and potentially sends people over to her home and potentially hurts that 10-year-old girl and her family. Oh, it's not your fault, Candace. You just provided the website. You're not the one doxing. The man is. So you see how that is? You're actually shifting the blame onto another person. And the fact that you're so trusting of the human race, of people not to dox others, is really telling. Because, I try to remain positive with the way people act, but human behavior, human characteristics, we're very tribalistic, we're very gynocentristic, we are very, and sometimes very, very narcissistic. We think about ourselves and we think about our own survival, and there are people out there who will abuse the respect and trust that we have with strangers, and not to screw up their lives. They will screw up their lives. This is what we're all concerned about, and something that I find very telling that you are not concerned about.
Because it was public.
Because it was on Facebook, that's still the definition of doxing. If you share someone else's...
No, it's not.
If you share someone...
No, it's not. You can't change the definition of doxing.
Hold on. I actually have the definition right here.
Good.
If you share someone else's personal information without their consent, it is doxing. Especially when it comes
Google
to kids.
doxes everyone?
Especially No, I'll...
See, but here's the thing. Google's intent is a search engine. It's not really meant for doxing. It's not meant for archiving everyone's personal information or every little thing that they've said. Okay? That's not the purpose of Google. I think it's very easy to find somebody using engines like Google if somebody has the intent to do it. But because it is quite clear that Google is not intended for doxing purposes, like, they've made it clear, which everybody knows. You, with this social autopsy website, are not making things clear. You're saying it now, but I don't think it was made clear when you first started it.
Especially when it comes to kids. I mean, she's definitely playing the whole, wanting to protect kids thing, which I think on...
Yep, Blaire, I totally agree with you here. She's using it to uplift herself as the moral, high ground, superior, I'm an independent black woman, I just think about everybody else, when really she's not.
Your heart could have very well been in the right place, but the reality is when you aggregate information of children and you attach it to where they go to school, which was the intent of your website. In fact, you actually said that it was the best time to be on the website if you were a child because it teaches you.
Can you slow? I literally can't follow you right now.
You said that it was the best.
I literally can't follow you right now. Really? Because I have no trouble following what she's saying. Candace is just...
to be on your website when you're a child because it teaches them responsibility of what they say online, right?
We said that in a video.
You said that in a video.
A single child was on there because,
I'm not saying there was. I didn't say there was.
Yeah, because we didn't.
Yeah, so Candace is saying that this social autopsy website was intended for children in school to catch them in their bad behavior and to teach them good things. But because her counsel there, the people that are involved with this website, stated that going after children might not be taken so well, they decided to start with adults. So here's the thing. If you're so concerned about children, then why are we going after adults? And you're coming off as being for children, but you're not starting it off for children. You say it's for children, but you go after adults. You say it's for the protection of children, but now you're going after adults.
We didn't want to shut off, if people asked questions, we didn't want to shut off the possibility of having children. If we found out this worked and this was harmless and, no harm, no foul, we didn't want to come out and say, we're never going to put a minor on here because, again, the whole reason I thought of the idea was because of what happened to me when I was a minor.
Well, it's actually illegal to eat.
So, again, why use it to experiment with adults when the intent is for children? What you should have done, Candace, is come up with the idea of social autopsy before launching it to those of people who are in the know about child's rights, about privacy rights, about how the internet works. Hell, even the police. You had to get permission to do this site so that it was made clear that this is only for children in schools to catch them doing naughty things, and that way their lives are not destroyed. You didn't do that. You didn't go through the proper hoops in order to get your website up. I think what you did was just set it up with your good intentions, thinking everybody would just be on board with this website.
the child's information on there.
There was no children, so this is like a fantasy conversation right now.
It's not a fantasy conversation.
No, it's not a fantasy conversation. It's a very real conversation. It's the fact that you are not making clear your intentions, and this is where everybody is criticizing you. You're not making your intentions clear, and this website was still up. And you're potentially collecting information on adults, which can very, very real, have real consequences to the things we say and do. You're not getting that.
Your intent. That's what you don't really understand. You think that because the website didn't actually come to fruition that people still don't have a right to criticize
That's exactly
the idea
what I
of
think.
it. That's exactly what you think. But regardless,
Right.
you made it very clear that your intent was to put that information on your website. It actually violates the Children's Internet Protection Act.
I'd have to look more into this act, but obviously this is an act to protect young children or underage individuals from cyberbullying, cyber violence, revenge porn, stuff like that. So this act was put into place because of the vast amount of technology that kids are exposed to, that, again, in the words of Candace, that they don't have the brain capacity to understand those consequences of putting themselves online. Because when you do put stuff online, it is forever. Okay, so I think Blaire is she's making it quite clear about why people are criticizing Candace and criticizing her intent behind this website. But Candace is seeing it as a personal attack, trying to silence her. That's the difference.
Legal, so that's why your Kickstarter was actually
All right, wait, hold on. So,
deleted.
let's pause for a second.
There were no children on it. You're talking
I'm not
about
saying that there.
No, we know that there was no children on it. You just stated that it wasn't going to have children on there. You were going to test the waters with adults, but it's meant for children. Of course, there's no children yet, because if you were to do that and it came out as a doxing website, you were now a potential threat to not only children, which is against the law, you're actually a potential threat to families and adults. You're not getting this.
I'm saying you had the intent.
This is a wild imagination you had. So you're saying
wild
that
imagination.
No, it's not a wild imagination. It's a very real concern that most people have in regards to your website. You just don't like us having this concern and having these criticisms.
this was your intent. Like, just so we're clear, we're here because if this was your intent and if it had happened, even though it didn't, right?
Candace.
That's why we're pissed and that's why we're trying to ruin everything that you are, because we have decided that we
How
are
have I tried to
policing what
ruin you?
could have, would.
See what she's doing? She has made it about her. Candace has made it about her. She thinks she's on the Rubin Report to defend herself from the attacks that she thinks she's getting directed to her person. Blaire is here to question her intent. She isn't here to attack Candace. You know, like, there may be some mudslinging from past live streams, but that is in direct response to what we assume is her intent. Candace is not explaining her intent very well, and she's explaining it poorly by using her own self as a personal victim of these supposed attacks. Nobody is attacking you, Candace. You just think we are.
Should have happened. Is that correct?
How have I tried to ruin
We're dealing in coulda, woulda, shoulda.
It's not.
It didn't happen. You're admitting it didn't happen.
Candace,
You're talking about acts.
Are you going to let me finish?
She's literally bringing up laws right now.
And you were literally interrupting your opponent. You were literally yelling at this point. Maybe if you calm down, okay, stop getting your panties in a twist and let her explain herself, maybe then we can get to some conclusion. Stop acting like an SJW.
Could have been violated, even though it wasn't violated, even though it wasn't created, because your intent is what we were criticizing. I intend to drive drunk. I don't drive drunk.
but
Can you let me?
See, now she's deflecting to other tangents. Like, this is clutter right now. This is buzz. This is buzz right now that Candace is throwing out against Blaire and throwing to the audience for us to get distracted with. She is distracting us. Stay on target. Stay on target.
It makes no sense. You're not making sense.
Because
Did I do it yesterday?
No, she's making perfect sense. If you actually listen to her instead of blowing up in her face, it would be a lot easier for us to understand. But you're cluttering and adding more buzz to things to confuse your audience. Dear audience members, pause and take a look at what is being said here. Okay? We need to break it down. Candace is not doing that.
Maybe if I could finish a sentence, you'd understand that I am making sense. But if I can't actually reveal my point to you, how are you going to?
And it's not a dox.
And exactly, this is another SJW tactic. Confuddle your opponent, add a lot of buzzwords, throw in a victim narrative, woe is me, woe is me. I'm sorry to say, but Candace is coming off as an SJW, which a lot of people are claiming that she is. If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck.
Just stick with the definition of dox, because that is where things
I
went
do want to clear up some definitions.
skewed.
Like, I need to be able to finish what I'm saying is the thing. Like, okay, so are you telling me that it's absolutely insane and it's absolutely fantasy land for someone like you to come out and you're a staunch free speech supporter, correct? You come out and you say, I support free speech. That's something you say.
When did I say that? No, but I'm asking you what you said. You come out and you say, that was my whole shtick. But I'm asking you, when did I say that?
I didn't say it was your whole shtick. I said that's part.
No, she didn't say it was your whole shtick. But you do state that you support freedom of speech. So Blaire is 100% right here, and you're just like trying to confuse everyone.
Who you are and what you believe is that you are in support of free speech. Do you think it's absolutely insane for someone to question someone who supports free speech?
The reason that I support free speech is
I gotta finish.
Yeah. Ruben here, sorry man, you're doing a very shit job in moderating because you've allowed Candace to interrupt Blaire numerous times, to speak over her, and to start yelling like, Candace, please be quiet for a second and let your opponent talk.
I have to finish my question. I have a lot of questions for you. You have to let me actually ask them.
Right.
Okay, so you are someone who supports free speech. That's part of your message as a conservative, which is a great message. Do you really think it's that crazy for people to see Red Pill Black supporting free speech and then look back a year ago and see that she tried to create a website that doxed people? And you can say it wasn't doxing, but when you publish people's information,
we're going to get to the bottom. That is not true.
It is not true. It's not true. It's not true. You know, if you repeat yourself enough, everybody might start believing you. But again, the intent of this website, as you state, was to protect children, and yet you don't have children on it. You use adults instead as the testing waters. So you're saying it's not a doxing website, but then why are you collecting information? Why are you archiving it? Why are you allowing individuals around the world to type in whatever they want of somebody that they don't like, and you can pull up their information? This site is meant to archive all their information. What is the purpose behind this? If not for doxing, or if not for potential doxing.
So, all right, so let's try to clean
I
up.
just don't understand how it's perceived to be so insane.
First,
fantasy land.
Two questions here. First, it's important that we address doxing, and I'm going to let you do that.
Yeah, all right. So let's just one thing at a time here, because there's a lot here. So first off, we can pull up your
Blaire White, you're totally like acting like a millennial now. I'm just going to pull it up on my phone, and I'm going to show you the definition of doxing. So anyway, continue.
To pull up the definition of doxing.
Right
I think part of what's happening here is we're struggling with a couple of, as I said, splash page, which you did forward me some emails. You guys were referring to this as a splash page the entire time.
Splash page.
I've never actually heard of the term splash page, so what I'm going to assume is that a splash page is something to just kind of grab the attention of the audience members, something that's not a full functional website, but more of like, hey, this is a page that's going to introduce my website, and then have about us and contact information and the purpose behind the website. Splash page could also be a means in order to gain that attention, to gain views, to potentially get the attention of ad revenue, of advertisers, to just start up a page. So that's my interpretation of what a splash page is, and I'll look it up later for sure.
Now, in essence, that may have been some confusion by your web guy. I mean, you forwarded me the whole change. So
last February,
so
he's been calling it a splash page.
That's what her web.
Okay, so your web designer has called it a splash page. So if he sent you this email telling you that this is going to be something, you are going off by what he said. Even right now, you're totally like trying to showcase in your mannerisms that you're like, well, that explains it. It's not my fault. I didn't know because I'm just given what I'm told. Okay, but that still doesn't exonerate you from thinking ahead as to the implications and consequences of this website. You're not thinking, Candace. You're just going with what your web designer said. So even if he was confused in how to relay that information to you, it was your responsibility to take that information and really read it, really interpret it. And it sounds like you didn't do that.
Web developer called it that.
But
So
hold on a second.
It wasn't a splash page. A splash page is literally defined as a logo before you go into a website. You had multiple.
we were
pages
building
on
a
the website.
technology. You're not understanding this.
I'm absolutely.
We were building a technology. So you were building a website that's basically an archival website. I'm pretty sure you're not the first to do that, Candace.
You're not. And now you can let me finish. We were building a technology.
Damn. Girl, don't let that white male / tranny / female tell you what to do. You speak for all black women, do you? I wonder where this stereotype for attitude of black women come from.
Website. So what he was saying is this is a splash. This is a splash of what we were actually. We never built it. That's the whole point you're missing. When you're building a technology.
Okay, so did you have?
So what I'm getting from Candace is that the website wasn't even started yet, and her web designer that she's in contact with has given her some brief description about how it's going to be a splash page, and then she's just got to go along with it. So basically what it sounds like Candace is describing is that she got the idea and she was talking it over with this web designer, got a little bit confused as to what kind of website it was going to be, but then pushed it through anyway. She didn't do her research. Not at all. Okay.
Or did you not have a database of 20,000 plus people? That's what you've stated. There are two statements you said. There's a database of 20,000 plus people, and that it was a non-functioning splash page. One of those statements can be true. Which one is true?
What do you mean?
What do you mean? So either the two statements saying that she had 20,000 people already archived in this website, it's a non-splash page, which I think would be an archival website, like a functional website. So it's either it was a splash page, which she thought it was, which meant it was just a logo and not a complete website, or she has 20,000 people already archived in this functional website. So here's the thing. This is where Blaire's trying to clear the mud out of the water. Either Candace knew that it was only a splash page with non-workable website with 20,000 people already on it, or she knew it was a functional website with 20,000 people on it, which apparently she stated, and therefore it's not a splash page. So this is where the confusion hits, and I think Blaire really hit the nail on this one. It's either she thought it was a splash page and nothing else, or she knew it was already a workable, functional website with the archive of 20,000 members, like people.
It was not. You're not missing a point.
I think
this is what he's trying to tell you.
Hold on.
You said there was a database.
You're getting hung up. Yeah, you're getting hung up on splash page. You're not listening to the fact that he's telling you that he read the emails between me and the web developer. You're not listening to the facts.
You're not listening to the facts. This isn't facts. Ruben got emails that you sent him, the exchange between this web designer and you. Your web designer stated it was a splash page. You went off of that. So the question now is whether or not the website was already functional or just a splash page. If you stated that there's already a database, if there's already an archive of 20,000 people, it's not a splash page, is it?
Hang on, guys. Candace, what I think people are confused by is, regardless of the definition of splash page, if it was non-functioning, how did it in fact collect the information of 20,000 people?
Right.
Ruben, again, nailed it as well. That's the point of Blaire. It was either a splash page or it wasn't. What was it? She's saying that it was, and therefore she's exonerated because she didn't know, or it was an archival website already up and that she's already had people on it.
It didn't collect the information. If people are writing in the information, it was storing it. It was an archive.
Collecting and storing. Collecting and storing. Now, to me, that sounds like the same thing. But I think what she's trying to differentiate here is that it was storing the comments or the pictures that people would put in and nothing else. So, like I would say, Ruben is a fag, and then somebody took my comment with my Facebook profile picture, put it in the website, Social Autopsy, and then it just stored there. Just that one. It didn't collect all the information about my other websites and stuff like that, about where I live, my videos, blah, blah, blah. So I think that's what she's trying to get across here, but she's failing.
Okay, hold on. So you just
storing or collecting.
All right, let's just get
You
some of
understand
this
what
here.
I'm saying about the
So,
splash?
yeah,
we never built the technology.
Okay, so
You never built the technology. Okay, so it's a splash site. But then if you say that you already had a database with 20,000 people on it, it's not exactly a splash page, is it, Candace?
You said there was a database, and then you said all it ever was a non-functioning splash page.
I didn't say it. I literally quoted. I did say that. You're not listening to me. Let me.
So wait, you didn't say that, or you did say that? Which one is it, Candace?
I did say that, but you're not listening to me. My web developer, I forwarded him all the emails from February. Did you not see these?
No,
He called it a non.
Did you not see these? Really, Candace? So Ruben stated that he gotten the emails from you, and this is where the splash page topic comes from. So clearly he's read these emails. You're talking over him. God.
Functioning splash page because we hadn't yet built the technology.
Okay, so
you're making it seem like I'm a liar. And that's what I wasn't.
And that is the point. Whether or not you have good or ill intent with this website, and whether or not your backstory of victimized life, to relate to children is true or false, and whether or not the usage of this website is for doxing purposes. Yes, Candace, everyone is calling you a liar because of what you are saying and what you are doing. You are coming off as very hypocritical right now because you're saying your website is this thing with the intent to protect children, but you're not doing that.
It was something that was told to me by my web developer, and I repeated that.
Database.
So clearly I'm not at fault, guys. It's all my web designer's fault. He didn't emphasize it. I did nothing wrong. I didn't have the adult brain capacity to kind of think to myself, well, are you sure it's a splash page or is it a functional website? And it's supposed to be for young children for their protection, but let's not use children and just focus on adults instead. And obviously because people would not appreciate a website that collects information on children. So let's do it to adults instead. That'll go off well.
A non-functioning splash page. So are you willing to take it back that it was a non-functioning splash page?
I am more than happy to admit, and like I said to Dave.
Okay.
Oh, it's not my fault, guys. It's fake news. It's fake news. Everything is fake news. Everything is not about me. It's not my fault. Candace, wake up. You are so oversensitive about this, and you are blowing things out of proportion and creating much more drama that is necessary. You're creating this drama around you. You are at fault for your own stress here. No one is attacking you. Everyone's just trying to get down to the finer details about whether or not you had good intent or ill intent with Social Autopsy.
Hey, so wait, hold on. I think
you didn't let me say anything here. You just said go ahead and go. Let me finish my.
Let me finish, and let me keep interrupting Blaire whenever she's making good points or whenever she has a good question. I'm just gonna keep going louder and louder and shake myself. And Ruben, did you read those emails for real?
I am more than happy to admit that when I stated that, I said that. I regurgitated verbatim, and he saw the emails, what my web developer called it as soon as we started. He said, because we're not building technology yet, you don't have the money to. We had to raise money to build the technology.
Okay. So this is where the Kickstarter thing came in, and this is where she was getting money from conservative people who, like me, followed her on YouTube because we related to her. A lot of us were liberals who became conservatives, and we related to Candace Owens. So now she's getting people donating to her Kickstarter for this non-splash page / splash page. So which is it, Candace?